You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth, and in the morning where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in the truth. I am Power Talks. Melody is not with us today. She had a meeting to go to, so she is not with us. I thought we'd talk about several different things today. And I will open up the phone line, 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. They covered it some last night. I didn't stay up real late to watch all the, I stayed up late enough, but to watch all the election returns. But Morrissey was one they were really keeping an eye on, and he did fend off Blankenship. It said that West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrissey defeated the former Coal CEO and Exxon Don Blankenship yesterday as the GOP works to wrestle a Senate seat from the Democrats. So Morrissey beats back the Republican opponent, which was Blankenship, and even Jenkins in a bid to take on the Democrat Senator Joe Manchin. Republicans were a little bit worried about Blankenship because he served some time in prison for his alleged role in the 2010 mine explosion. They were afraid he would win the primary and then not be able to win the election. So they were pulling for, and President Donald Trump was pulling for Morrissey. So we will see how that turns out. One thing it said they were worried about, which, that doesn't bother me a bit, was Blankenship. I guess he ran some controversial ads against Senator Mitch McConnell and called him Cocaine Mitch in the ads in a reference to the drug smuggling bust on a ship owned by his father-in-law's family. And he has also used the word Negro and China people in ads targeting the Kentucky Republican, while also arguing he was not making racial-motivated appeals. But so he apparently used some poor judgment. I do think that Mitch McConnell is guilty of several things, but this is good news right here. And I don't know how you feel about what the president did yesterday, pulling out of the Iran deal. I have mixed emotions about it. It's one of those, again, we're going to have to wait and see if that's going to be the best thing for America and see down the road. But today they have announced that Pompeo has secured the release of the American hostage in North Korea, and they will be coming back with him when he returns. He just got over there yesterday. And so I had two different articles about that. I've got here, where is that other one? This is big news, yeah. North Korea to release the 3 detained Americans today. This is Wednesday. It says North Korea released 3 detained Americans on Wednesday. The United States has been demanding that North Korea free, and I'm going to mess up these names, please forgive me, Kim Hak-sung, Kim Sang-duk, and Kim Dong-chul. And reports have said that the two sides were close to reaching a deal on their release. The reports come ahead of a planned summit between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled to North Korea on yesterday, to meet with North Korean officials about the summit, including the location, timing, and agenda for the meeting. Pompeo also told reporters he planned to raise the issue of the 3 Americans during his trip, but had no commitment for their release as of yet. But Yonhap, though, reports that 3 Americans will return with Pompeo. The 3 Americans are supposedly staying in hotels on the outskirts of Pyongyang, Choisangrong, and South Korean, I know I messed those up really bad, I'm so sorry. South Korean activists with contacts in the north told AFP that early May, adding the 3 were being kept separately, but going on tours, receiving medical treatment, and eating good food. Now, that was the report we got, but it says that they're going to come back with Pompeo when he comes back, and apparently he's coming back right away. He got there yesterday, and he's coming back today, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of what it sounded like. So that's good news. The last time we got a prisoner back from them, he was in a coma and didn't make it. So this is good news. I think these are fairly healthy yet. They're being cared for. I don't know why they're being kept. I don't know the articles that I have today don't tell the background on that, but it is being said that they are going to release them with Pompeo. So that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Now, we have the scuttlebutt, all the distractions that are going on in New York with Schneiderman. And New York Governor Cuomo has appointed a special prosecutor, since it is their attorney general that's in trouble. He has resigned. He's no longer their attorney general. But he's appointed a special prosecutor to investigate the allegations of abuse by the New York Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman. Cuomo said yesterday that District Attorney Madeleine Sengas will investigate and possibly prosecute any and all matters concerning the public allegations against Schneiderman. Now, Schneiderman, he's still claiming that what he did was welcomed by the women, or it was not as they described. So he claims he's innocent up to some degree. Now, the big story with Schneiderman is that he was such a never Trumper, a hate Trumper. He was always on the no Trump, always criticizing, pointing fingers at Trump, for his, the video that came out from where he talked about groping women, boy talk in the locker room, and then the Stormy Daniels. That's one I don't get. She is a porn star. She's anything but innocent. She claims she was not part of the Me Too, that nothing was done to her that she didn't consent to. She accepted $130,000 to keep quiet, and now she's not keeping quiet. And they act like the president, although I do not condone his behavior, committed a crime. So I'm trying to figure out what crime was actually committed and who was actually hurt. And how that compares with abuse that Schneiderman has done. Because many of the media outlets are talking more about Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump than they are about Schneiderman, which is pretty serious what they are claiming that he has done. It's very serious. I have an article here. We talked a little bit about it a week ago, I think it was, coming out of the state of California, and it's the bill AB 2943. Now, this article is coming from the Daily Signal, which is part of the Heritage Foundation. I like many of the writings. I don't always agree with them 100%, but I do like them. It says California takes the next step in the sexual revolution, silencing certain beliefs. Well, they have to remove God in order to get away with some of what they want to do, including D.C. that wants to rob you blind, take everything you have, and then they'll promise you this or that, a few entitlements. We're going to get this for you, get that. We'll take care of you. I don't care, They have to remove God in order to not be responsible for their actions. But this takes this even farther yet. It says the same voices who claimed that the sexual revolution was about expanding personal choice, it's not about expanding personal choice, are now seeking to strip away the freedom of people to pursue their self-chosen counseling goals. Instead, they want to force people into narrow boxes, whether they want to live in those boxes or not. That's not freedom. That is not freedom. At least that's the direction things are headed in the state of California, where the state legislature is rushing through an anti-personal freedom bill, AB 2943. It essentially says that if you begin to experience questions about your gender identity or sexual orientation, you cannot seek help in overcoming those problems and overcoming those feelings. The only path a person can pursue is to fully embrace, I was kind of right the first time, fully embrace and act on those feelings. Don't fight it. Let it go. Just let it go. Specifically, the bill would outlaw anyone in the state from selling any goods or services to adults to help them address unwanted same-sex attractions or questions over gender identity. I wonder if they do that if this is also inclusive of those who have sexual addictions. They're not necessarily a homosexual. I just wonder. It would make it illegal under the state's consumer protection law to offer any practices that seek to change behaviors or gender expression or to eliminate or reduce sexual romantic attractions or feelings toward individuals of the same sex. I guess it ain't broke, so you shouldn't fix it. You should just embrace it. So I guess they don't believe, remember we talked about changing your personality in 30 days last week? I guess they don't believe in that. In fact, it says here that the bill is so broad that even if someone simply wished to refrain from acting on their same-sex attraction or conflicted feelings about their gender identity, this law would make any kind of resources for such individuals effectively illegal. So last week, what we shared with you was that they were outlawing the Bible. Basically, they weren't allowing the selling of that because it conflicts with this. As a result, a paid counselor would be banned from helping a married mother, she has 3 children perhaps, who knows, who is experiencing unwanted attractions to a close female friend. A religious ministry could not hold a paid conference or on maintaining sexual purity if the conference encourages attendees to avoid homosexual behavior. And a bookstore could not advertise or sell books helping people who want to live consistently with their biological sex. Can't do it. Not in the state of California if this bill passes. It says, what right does California have to tell its residents that they cannot follow their conscience and pursue their own behavior or emotional goals? What, while the state legislators may want to pretend these people don't exist, they do. There are many people unhappy, confused. I'm going to talk about that a little bit on CSE Talk Radio after this hour. Many people do, in fact, want to live traditional lifestyles or want to prioritize their faith over their feelings. They may experience same-sex feelings, but their devotion to their faith instructs them that they should not be a slave to those feelings. Now, that goes with heterosexuals as well. The sexual revolution has brought to us a lot of gray areas, a lot of confusion, lack of being responsible, abortion, this kind of thing that we're talking about here. Children without 2 parents, parents that are confused as to who they are. Said maybe they have conflicting questions about their gender identity, but they believe it would be best to embrace their biological sex. According to the state of California, embrace your sin. Don't try and change. Your personality's just fine. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. We will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann, only we're minus Melody today. So I guess I get to do whatever I want. She's not here to keep me in line. I don't know. I kind of chose this. I've been thinking about this all week. In fact, before the Schneiderman episode came out, I've been thinking about what's going on in this nation. And I know most of you, I'm singing to the choir here. You know what the problem is. And I'm going to address it even more so on CSC Talk Radio here in the next hour. But this bill, it's the arrogance and the blatant disregard for people. So you don't have any right to question your feelings, at least sexually. You need to just go with it, and they're going to legislate that? I don't know how the people in California put up with some of this stuff. It says, it goes on here, why should individuals like these, 2 of whom bravely shared their stories of personal transformation with the California legislature, be denied the freedom to pursue counseling and other resources as they seek to change their desires? For them, true happiness is found in embracing their faith's teaching on sexuality and gender. There's only 2 sexes. There's only 2 genders, male and female. In all animals, there's only 2. Yet we're being told by those who want complete and total chaos freedom, which is not independence. Because something like this, be it homosexuality or promiscuity or some of the other things that are sinful, not just sexual sins, but other things, they capture you. They bind you up, and you're no longer free. It's the old saying, sin takes you farther than you want to go and keeps you longer than you want to stay. So yet the AB 2943 would not only strip away their freedom to pursue that happiness, but it would impose costly liability on anyone, licensed and unlicensed, counselors, religious ministries, authors, and booksellers, who extends a compassionate hand to those seeking to change. Now, they're not going out and necessarily hitting other people over the head and say you need to change. These are for those who are seeking to change or questioning where they are. The AB 2943 would be a plaintiff-driven law, meaning that any consumer who is offended by practice or teachings offered by one of those groups could file a crippling lawsuit against them, arguing that their efforts to help a person work toward a client's chosen goal are deceptive and fraudulent under the state consumer protection law. So I guess if we would back up here, and they were giving an example of a mother of 3 children, a single mother of 3 children who was having feelings that she knew weren't normal for her anyway, and she wanted to get some counseling and understand what's going on in her life and get help. And this other person that she seems to be attracted to decides that's offensive. I guess she has the right to sue over this with this, according to this. It hasn't passed yet, this bill 2943. These individuals and institutions would be subject to the whims of how broadly an activist judge might interpret the law. And we've seen a few of those, haven't we? And even if they prevailed against such frivolous claims on First Amendment grounds, as they should, a few such lawsuits are likely to have a chilling effect on their activities. At the heart of many faiths is the idea of transformation, that circumstances and attitudes and even behaviors can change. They teach that true fulfillment comes from denying our own self, our own wishes, to seek the will of the divine. The Declaration of Independence guarantees individuals the right to pursue such happiness. And that California law would interfere with that right. That's about as anti-freedom as it gets. So as I've been thinking this week, like I said, it was even before Schneiderman, I'm listening to all this Stormy Daniels stuff. And I'm thinking, what a mess we are in this nation. Simply because we've run amok on selfishness. We've turned away from God, and we've allowed ourself to take over. You know, there's a song that's out by Mercy Me. It's an older one now. It's not one of their newer songs. He's breaking up with himself. It's so long, self. It's not you, it's me. You know, he goes on and on about it. It is really a cute little song. I've sung it before. It's really a cute little song. Breaking up with yourself. According to California, you can't break up with yourself. You're going to have to live your life in sin, whether it's, and I'm not just picking on homosexuals. That's what this is kind of driven towards. So I'm not just picking on that. I'm picking on any kind of sin that you get captive to, whether it's drug addiction, alcohol, just plain old sex in general. Whatever the addiction may be in your life, maybe, you know, you've heard of people that are, you know, kleptomaniacs that just can't stop from stealing, people that lie. They can't seem to help themselves when even a lie isn't necessary. Not allowed to change yourself. Well, it's because if you don't change yourself, if you accept that and you don't accept God, then yeah, you're okay. You know, you're all right. It's going to be all right. But it's not going to be all right, is it? It's not going to be okay. Well, we talked about the polls the other day, and we talked about several other things that seem to be going Donald Trump's way. Yet if you listen to the media, the mainstream media in particular, you'd think that he was the most unpopular president that we've ever had. But things are changing. Like I said, my feelings about his decision yesterday are mixed. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. We know that Syrian TV reported that explosions near Damascus, Israeli missiles interrupted yesterday right after the announcement. Wars and rumors of wars. There's never going to be peace in the Middle East. Never. But the pollsters, they were wrong all through the campaign, and so I don't know that we can take much stock in them. But this one, they even put a disclaimer up because they didn't even believe their poll, because he had jumped dramatically in their poll as to what it was the last time they took it. So they put a disclaimer out, and this was coming from it was Reuters. And we talked about it a little bit the other day, and I just thought it was kind of funny. It came out one more time. They talked about it again. And it's just interesting to me because I don't buy into the polls a lot. And here this one, because it didn't quite go the way they wanted it to, although it's more of a conservative one, I think, than some of the others, even they were questioning it. It's just crazy. Now, this is coming from Louisiana. This is a House bill. It's kind of bizarre. It's allowing more guns on the school and college campuses. The state is even giving citizens more power to defend themselves in the likelihood of an attack. Wow. You mean they're going to honor the Second Amendment in Louisiana? It says the Louisiana State House of Representatives passed a major bill. This was Wednesday. I think it was last week. That has left both sides of the political aisle stunned over one strange condition, according to the NOLA. If signed into law, the bill would allow visitors to carry firearms at kindergarten through 12th grade schools and on college campuses if they have a concealed weapons permit. But employees and students would be prohibited. That's kind of strange to me. I can understand students maybe, but the bill sponsored by Republican State Representative Blake McGuiz, M-I-G-U-E-S, will move the Senate for a vote. However, the proposal is contingent on a parish-by-parish popular vote, meaning visitors on campus and school property would only be able to carry a firearm if the parish approved the measure. Miguez wants to give more power to each community to make their own laws and decisions. But the move has surprised both sides because, frankly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. In theory, giving communities more power over their own laws doesn't sound like a bad idea, but in practice, it could have serious legal issues for law-abiding citizens, according to this article, which was written by Martin Walsh. And this is from the Conservative Post Daily. It says here that a legal gun owner may be able to carry a gun on a school or university campus in one area, but not in another. And that may be just up the road. It could have major legal ramifications for those who don't have time to remember the laws or the hundreds of parishes in Louisiana. Well, you go and ask or you make a phone call. The legislation would allow school and university authorities to forbid visitors from bringing firearms into certain buildings or venues. Well, now, see, that makes sense to me. Then it says the parish or the school boards would be able to place certain limitations on where a person can bring a gun. For example, a parish could prohibit a person from bringing a firearm into a sporting event or a classroom. Democrats, of course, outright oppose the bill because they don't support anything that involves allowing gun owners to exercise their constitutional right to bear arms. But Republican lawmakers do support the bill, but don't understand why Miguez worded it in a way that further complicates the issue. Because they're all lawyers, that's why. They're all attorneys. Citizens have every right to legally carry a firearm. The Second Amendment will always guarantee that. So why not just simply state that citizens can legally carry a gun or on school or university property? Why pass a law that allows the schools to make one rule and then each parish can pass another? If we want a bill that gives more freedom to citizens, then do it. Miguez took a simple concept and made it far more complicated than it needed to be, according to this writer. Fortunately, the state Senate can reword the language and perhaps pass a major bill that gives Americans more freedom to protect themselves in the likelihood of an attack. I find it ironical that we're passing a bill to simplify the Second Amendment. Or to complicate it. It's complicated right now, but they want to simplify it to honor the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment isn't enough to stand on its own. Does it not stand on its own? Well, you'll hear all kinds of confusion about what it means, interpretations. Well, it's pretty clear, I think. I think it's extremely clear. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. And you can have any kind of weapon, because you're supposed to be able to defend yourself from the tyrannical government. From the tyrannical government. Not from a robber, although that's necessary as well. But it just seems odd to me that we have to continue to legislate to infringe upon the Second Amendment. And then when somebody is trying to bring it back to the Second Amendment, they're upset with him because it seems complicated. And they want it to be simple. But the Second Amendment in and of itself is simple. I would think even a sixth grader or a fifth grader can understand it. A well-regulated militia. Militia's not a dirty word. Being necessary to the security of a free state. Now, that's not just talking about Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas. It's talking about you. It's talking about me. A free state. Sovereign individuals. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. One of the first things the king did was went to destroy the bunkers there, the buildings or whatever that held the ammunition. Didn't take their guns. He blew up their ammunition. And why was that? Because he was a tyrant. And he was going to come after them. He was going to come after their land. He was going to force more taxes on them. And he was a tyrant. So what do we have in D.C. today? That they would... We have some that are trying to, and I would say this gentleman, Miguez, is trying to bring the Second Amendment back. Right now, these areas are no gun zones completely. He's giving them an option, which I think is not a terrible idea, but he's giving them an option as to whether they want to have a gun on their property or not. You elect your school board. I don't know if you elect a board for perhaps the alumni does, the upper crust for the universities. You elect the school boards of your local schools. So they're saying parishes here, so perhaps these are private schools only, not public schools. And I would think they were already able to make their own decisions, but apparently not. But this is in Louisiana. I don't know all the laws of Louisiana. The laws do vary from state to state, and that is how it's supposed to be in some ways. But it's not supposed to deviate from the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. That is supposed to be the same. So it's up to you if you're it's up to your school board if you send somebody to private school. I would think the sovereignty would be up to you whether you wanted them to carry a gun in or not, have open carry. I didn't understand why it was, I could understand students, but why the faculty was not allowed to carry in that particular bill. That didn't make sense to me. Why could a stranger come in? Faculty that you trust and hire cannot. Not the faculty isn't capable of losing it. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing that's going down, and we didn't talk about it last week. It was something that I saw last week, and it got put on hold for some of the other things we were doing. I did read, I had on CSC Talk Radio earlier this week, Mindy Patterson. And in the state of Tennessee, in a particular little town, Franklin, they were passing an ordinance to force pet stores to only have rescue pets. So they could not buy and sell pets from state licensed breeders. And we had a call to action. And unfortunately, I didn't get to read the entire thing, but it failed. So this is the confusing thing that's going on in this nation. Why would a state force breeders? They have set rules and regulations for those animals that they breed and grow and sell. They force them to have a license, and then a little community like this, and it was HSUS that was doing it. They passed this. It was their idea. You know, they're the ones now with the rescue. So it's a competition thing. We have a government forcing licenses and then turning around and saying, we're going to monitor, we're going to mandate, we're going to regulate, we're going to make sure you can't sell those animals. We're going to take your money and license you, and you have to jump through the hoops we say to jump through. But then we're going to tell pet stores that they can't purchase them from you. And, of course, you can't sell them online. You can't. It goes on and on and on. So why does that Second Amendment, why does that Second Amendment exist? Tyrannical government. Agendas. Driven by agendas. HSUS, and we don't talk about it much here on Power Talks. I talk about it quite a bit on CSC Talk Radio. It's an evil organization. Now, your local pet stores or your local HSUS, they may not be, those who work there might not have the same agenda as the higher-ups in HSUS. For those who don't know what that is, it's called the Humane Society of the United States. It has nothing to do with the United States. They make big bucks, and they spend lots of money to show you pitiful pictures. They created a trumped-up version or a trumped-up phrase called puppy mills. Puppy mill is anybody who is licensed in raising animals. Anybody. Now, there are abusers in all industries, but there are laws. They want the animal industry, the livestock industry, all of anything that has to do with animals. They're the ones who attacked the New York horse and carriage people. And ASPCA was in on that too. They've attacked the circuses. They've attacked children who raise rabbits. It goes on and on and on. As these agendas, whether it's HSUS or some other outside organization that is lobbying the D.C. occupiers or your community, that community has an infiltration of an alderman who is affiliated with HSUS. So the state forces you to have a license, to buy a license, to jump through their hoops, and then they fix it so you cannot do your business. And they attacked one pet store. He's only been open for 2 years. He already had a business, and he retired from his business, and his wife, and he love animals. He has a degree in animal husbandry and behavior. And they're going to fix it so they can't have a decent living with their pet store. And you can't guarantee a rescue pet is safe with children or safe from diseases because they don't have the same regulations on a rescue as they do on these pet breeders who actually breed and raise the animals. So we've gone from California to Louisiana. And can you see the correlation there that we are under a tyrannical government driven by money and greed and personal agendas, forcing a way of life upon the American people, whether you like it or not. You're listening to Power Talk. 717-300-1218 is the number to call. That's 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned, and I hate to keep giving bad news, but I think it's important that we understand that we've been messed with. And I know, I'm preaching to the choir. All of you know this. But this came out last week, and this is from WorldNet Daily, and it's Bob Unruh. I've shared some things from him in the past, but he's titled this particular article, Congress is Lining Up Behind an Indefinite Detention for Americans. Now, you know, we went through this right after 9/11. And here it goes again. And he says in this article, while much of the reporting of the National Defense Authorization Act now pending in Congress has focused on issues such as authorization for a military parade in Washington, John Schwartz and The Intercept noticed a far different issue: the option for the indefinite detention of American citizens without charges. The Constitution protects the rights of the accused under the nation's criminal statutes, including the provision of a statement of charges, a speedy trial. Well, we know that doesn't happen. The idea of no notice, no ending, no charges detention arose in the response of 9/11, if you remember that, with the argument that terrorists are more likely enemy combatants than homegrown criminals. But The Intercept noticed the legislation has expanded its scope over the years. The fiscal year of 2012, the NDAA included provisions that appeared to both codify and expand a power the executive branch had previously claimed to possess, namely the power to hold individuals, including U.S. citizens, in military detention indefinitely, based on the authorization to use military force passed by Congress 3 days after 9/11. Then Representative Ron Paul of Texas, he's a Republican from Texas, criticized, this was in 2012 when he was representative and not a senator. Well, this is Ron Paul, excuse me. He criticized it back in 2012, the NDAA, as providing some weak restraints on the executive branch's ability to use the power. Now, I have a caller, and we're going to go to him, but my point in all this is we need to question everything they do. And here we have watched them go after President Donald Trump, go after his attorneys, go after anybody who worked on his campaign, and we know that they were spying on him. We have Joe from Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Oh, still getting by. And how are you, Beth?
I'm doing good, thank you. What's on your mind?
Yeah, okay. Well, I wanted to comment on the whole Iran situation, which has been prominent in the news. And I thought that you read an article from Pat Buchanan the other day, which I thought was really good. But anyway, the way I think about it, I just don't like the way it seemed like the comments of just about everybody seem to be motivated by some concern other than what's good for America. You know, it seems like the country is divided into two big factions, one of which is most concerned with supporting Israel, the other which is most concerned with supporting the Muslims, and neither one of them seem to have America's interests all that much to heart. Like, I think Obama did what he did because he's Muslim Brotherhood, and he wanted to do what he did to support the Muslims in Iran that he was friendly with. And I think Trump has done what he's done because he wants to carry the water for Israel and the Zionists, and so that's why he did what he did. And what's really strange, and neither one of them is, really looking out for American interests, which I think was well said by George Washington when he said that the old world is an endless hotbed of endless conflict, and we shouldn't get involved. We should stay neutral. And so that's personally how I think we should be in the Middle East. And it seems to me especially strange that so many of the Christians have been convinced that their duty is to support Israel, because I would think that if the Christians actually believed what their own religion teaches, they would think, hey, there's no good reason for anybody to be Jewish anymore. You know, that if these Jews, why should we help the Jews to have a Jewish country over there when there's no good reason for anybody to be Jewish anymore? You know, if they want to accept the Messiah that God sent them over 2,000 years ago, we'll help them to do that, but there's no good reason we should support them in continuing to be Jewish and to having a Jewish country, because there's no good reason to be Jewish anymore. I would think that that's how the Christians would think about it if they actually believe what their own religion teaches. So I just don't like the way it seems like just about all the concern about the Iran deal is motivated more by wanting to help either the Muslims or the Zionists and not concerned with what's good for America.
Well, we know in almost every conflict, maybe I should say in every conflict, it's money. It's money, and over in Middle East, it's oil, and it's a lot of things besides what we're being told it is. You want to believe that the president is trying to make America great again, and trying to keep us safe again, and all this and that he promotes, and we are concerned that he gets influenced. But, it's been kind of the practice of him that he doesn't get influenced too easily. He already had his mind made up. So it's, again, we're going to have to ride this out. We have no choice to see what's going to happen and whether it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But I like you, I thought Pat Buchanan made some really good points. And it was very interesting. In fact, there was a lot more article than what I shared. It was really interesting. He went through details that I thought were good for me, because I'm not that military minded and I can't keep track of everything that's going on anyway. So it was good for me to read it, and I always do appreciate, and I really have a great respect for Pat Buchanan. So we'll just have to see. And I don't think he just spouts off. I think he thinks things through. I think he he's got some experience behind him. He's been through all this political jargon, and I think he really does have America at heart. And I'm not saying that the president doesn't, but I'm just going back to the article from Pat Buchanan. So anyway,
well, I really welcome you to read Pat Buchanan's articles whenever you want to, because
okay.
I don't hear him all that much. I don't know all that much about him, but whenever I do hear of what he has read or what he has said, I think, hey, this guy's really good. I'm surprised how good he is.
I would love to get him on the air. I was going through some things here about 2 years ago. I was looking for his book. I knew that I had it somewhere, the book that he wrote, The Death of the West, and I finally found it, and I'd forgot all about this. I don't know how I forgot about it, but he had actually written a note to me in there, and this was when I was still working for Derry Brownfield, and he had actually written a little note to me in that about being a saint for putting up with Derry as long as I had put up with Derry. So he was being funny, and it was cute, and I had forgot all about the little note that he had written in there, and I would like to get him on the air and talk about some stuff, because I think he has a wisdom that we can glean from. And but anyway, I forgot about that. It was kind of fun for me to find that. I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it would be great if you would get him on the air. I hear him on the air with Hannity every now and then, and I think Pat Buchanan is good, and I think Hannity does too much to interrupt him and argue against him, when Pat Buchanan is more on the right side, I think. So if you can get him on, that would be great.
I agree with you. I think Hannity goes down one road and he kind of stays on that. And I listen to him. I don't listen to his radio show, but I watch him in the evenings and I listen to him. And it's the same thing. When he starts out, it's always breaking news. Everything's breaking news. It's always breaking news. So it's, I don't know if it's really breaking or not, but or just got broke on Hannity. Anyway, I appreciate the call, Joe, so very much. I appreciate it. You've been listening to Power Talks today. You've been listening to Beth Talk is what you've been listening to. And Melody will be back with us tomorrow. And, it's so much is going on, and I want you to take time to reflect on that. And if you could turn the channel, all those who are listening on shortwave, and listen to CSC Talk Radio here in just a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the same things, and we're going to talk about some other things. I really want to concentrate on some of what I think is my opinion, obviously, of what is happening with the women's rights movement, and the Democrats really care about the women's rights, and our black brothers and sisters, their rights. And it's really amazing to me how messed up this nation has become in just my short life. I know I'm no spring chicken, but it just seems like yesterday I was the 9-year-old that was running around like my granddaughter. I mean, I remember that. We've come a long way, and it would appear that we have gotten so selfish that we're going backwards now. So flip the dial over to 12.160, and you can listen to CSC Talk Radio in just a little bit. Don't forget Melody. Give her a call at 1-800-375-4188 and get some gold and silver and be secure. And we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.